Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of MUWCI podcast. I'm Prince, your host for today, and I'm joined by my co-host.
My name is Nampheung and I'm the member of MUWCI podcast.
Today, we are diving into an interesting topic that affects all of us, which is well-being at MUWCI. So I think well-being here is about staying healthy, both mentally and physically, while balancing the unique challenges of academics, social life, and personal growth. It's about taking care of yourself, recognizing when you need support, and making the most of resources available to help you. We are thrilled to have with us two incredible guests, Karl, our head of residential life and psychology teacher at MUWCI, and Astha, our most amazing person on the campus, who is well-being psychologist at MUWCI and who plays a key role in supporting students' well-being at MUWCI. Before we dive into our today's discussion, so could you both tell us a bit more about your roles at MUWCI and how do you support students' well-being in campus? Basta, could you like to
Yes.
tell?
Thank you, Prince, and thank you, Nampheung, to invite us and to talk about to bring this relevant and really important topic about well-being. I'm Astha. You know me as your well-being psychologist. I've been here for 3 years now, and my role is here to look after the mental health and well-being of students, to support students whenever they are struggling or whenever they're going through difficult situations. What I do is I have individual sessions with them, which is one-on-one counseling or therapeutic sessions. Apart from that, I also, refer students if they want to talk to someone who's external or, online. We work together to, sort of build on the well-being of students to cope with difficult situations, stressful situations, and also, build some skills that are needed to work through either just day-to-day life situations or just anything specific that is happening in their lives. So yeah, that is me and my role here.
So thank you, Prince, and thank you, Nampheung, for having us over. I think Astha already mentioned how important this topic is, so really appreciate you having us over for this relevant topic, especially in today's times and in the context of MUWCI. I am Karl, your friendly neighborhood head of student life. I oversee the residential part of the campus and also the well-being of students. So I work extremely closely with Astha to see where we can support students more effectively, both proactively and reactively. And simultaneously I work with the WADA parents and try and see how we can improve various systems and structures in the residential spaces, which in a way also ties to student well-being. And another part-time role of mine is that I do a bit of teaching, and I hold that position it's a very dear position to me because it gives me a break from the various other roles that I have, and I can be someone else in my classroom. So yeah, that's me.
What does the well-being means to you when it comes to the MUWCI?
Well-being is actually everything. It's about your physical life, it's about your emotional life, your social life, intellectual life. I think it spans all areas of your life, in short. And along with, I think sometimes well-being is misunderstood as something that's negative, which could be stress, could be your unpleasant experiences. But I think well-being constitutes a lot more than that. It also includes your positive experiences, the positive relationships you have in your life, proactively doing things to ensure that you are in a healthy space. So well-being is sort of both the negative as well as the positive, and more significantly on the positive. Astha, do you have something to add on?
I completely agree with what you said, Karl. Well-being is not just the absence of stress or not just the absence of negative situations in your life. It is also good things. It is joy. It is feeling content, feeling happy, feeling an enhanced sense of emotional state, right? So you're feeling good emotions as well. It's dynamic, it always, well-being is not always also about just feeling happy and good, right? It goes up and down. It'll always go up and down, and well-being is just about knowing how to adapt to difficult situations and stressful situations, and knowing how to take care of yourself, whether you're feeling overwhelmed or even when you're not feeling overwhelmed, how to take better care of yourself, right? So I think that is what well-being is. I think
I also hear students often saying, when I ask them how are they doing, and they keep saying they're surviving. So I think well-being is not to do with surviving as much as it's to do with thriving, right? These are personal choices that students can make, that all of us can make, and it links to our relationships, our sense of belongingness, and the community that we live in. So
and it is important for a enhanced sense of well-being. It's important to have a purpose. It's important to have a sense of connection. It's important to have some kind of goals and motivation, and so that you can keep building on good things in your life. So
As you mentioned, like well-being is being joyful and enjoying the things. So from your experience, what are the biggest challenges or common challenges people face at MUWCI during their academics?
We at MUWCI face a lot of challenges, don't we? Like, we're always challenged. We're always facing difficult situations, and we're also always working through these things, right? I think, but some of the biggest difficulties or biggest challenges that I have seen students face, or I have seen, I have worked through with students, is having really high standard and expectation of themselves when they come from different backgrounds. When they get selected at a UWC, they do have a sense of, I need to achieve so much. I need to, have really high goals, set really high goals for myself. I need to, always constantly be doing great things and then one-upping the great thing that I just did. So I think having these really high set expectations really puts a lot of pressure on students, and that really affects their well-being, is one. I think also adapting to a different environment altogether, adapting to a different place, different set of people who are so culturally diverse as well, is difficult in the beginning. And sometimes it takes a lot of time to settle in, to find your ground, to feel, belonged. So,
what I see in the residential spaces is a lot of students, again, I think the biggest thing is leaving home, making the biggest decision probably of their lives. They leave so much behind in terms of comfort, the familiarities of home, friends, food, and just the fact that they know things back there, and they leave all of that and they come here. And I think to touch on what Astha mentioned is about the expectations. For most students, this seems to be a very important phase in their life. It's the chance to sort of make it or break it, and I think that pressure builds for over the months, and then just the whole part of adjusting to a new country, to a new culture, to different roommates. I think the residential spaces are set up itself provides a challenge where you have roommates from different backgrounds, different cultures. You're faced with the uphill struggle right from the beginning. And of course, not to forget that ultimately you're here. I think the balance of, are we here for the UWC experience? Are we here for the academics? I think that tends to sort of eat into some of the students, and they find it hard to decide which one it is, when maybe it can be both, and it's just about achieving that balance.
And like you said, it also comes down to then time management and how you're utilizing your time, which is limited, and you have a really expansive number of things that you need to or you want to do here. So I do feel it's also figuring out a balance between, like Karl said, what do I need to do at one given point in time. So yeah, I think that is also one.
Thank you so much, Karl and Astha, for more interesting answers. Now over to Nampheung.
Okay, yes. As you said, we are from many different backgrounds, so challenge faced is many things. So I have a question for you. And how important it is for students to find balance between academics and social life?
Is it important? Yes, very. Of course, it is important. Like Karl was saying, right? The struggle between finding the balance also becomes a challenge, and it becomes something that eats into the well-being. It eats into how we feel every day, how fulfilled we feel every day as well. So it is important to strike that balance. Can we really find the perfect balance? I don't know, but it's always worth a try. Most often than not, you will end up doing one thing over the other, but it's okay, right? Like some days you will end up studying more, some days you will end up socializing more, and I personally think that's okay for you to set your goals according to maybe also the school calendar, or the what is happening at school. Maybe during your exams you want to study more. When you have more free time, when you have events, when you have more time, you want to socialize more. But I mean, I do think it's important to get both, right? It's really important to also not feel that you're isolated, to also not always just keep studying all the time. Because a lot of research also suggests that, research in positive psychology suggests that having a good social life will actually help you feel better, not just in terms of your emotions or well-being, but it will enhance your academic performance as well. It will enhance your cognitive or your power to learn things better. So it has effects in your academic life as well. So it's important to find a good support system for yourself. It's important to feel that sense of belonging, which ultimately has ripple effects in other areas of your life. Karl, do you want to add?
I think we've touched upon most of the relevant things. I think that's academics versus socializing has been, I think it's always been a conversation or a debate in terms of which one is important, but I think it's also important to challenge the idea that it's not academics versus socializing. I think to me, I think socializing, and I don't mean socializing in terms of just hanging out with friends, but I mean building strong, meaningful relationships is vital. I think especially at this age, it's important to, I mean, that's also part of the UWC experience, right? To meet new people, to understand different cultures, and that requires you to go beyond the academic schedule and actually find time to ask someone, hey, what's up, how are you doing, and what does this mean in your culture, or why are you doing this, or why are you wearing that, and having curious conversations. So socializing to me is extremely important, and I think academics has its space, has its time, and I think if we can fit that in a schedule, and stick with the schedule over the year, because the 2 years is more like a marathon, right? In terms of everything. We also sometimes forget that we will see the same people for many months, so we have time to interact with them. Everything needs to be done in balance, in controlled limitation, where you're not overdoing things, you're not socializing till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, or similarly, you're not studying till 3 and 4 in the morning. So it's trying to achieve a balance in both, ultimately, which is the challenge, I think.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So it's very important to balance our academics and social life, because social life support academics. And another question is, what are some well-being practices or routine that MUWCI students can use to maintain that balance?
So for me, I think keeping the larger picture in mind is important. I'm sure most students have set a goal before they've arrived. What do they want from these 2 years? What do they want moving ahead? And I think it's important to hold on to that, because this decision was made in a space where you were a lot more comfortable and you knew you felt more safer. When students come here, there tends to be a comparison. Your goals may be, you may look at your goals and wonder if it's relevant in comparison to someone else's goal. And yes, it's important to have flexibility in terms of that, but also keeping perspective in mind. Doesn't always have to be a rat race. If everyone's applying to certain colleges, it doesn't mean that you have to change now what you had said. So it's really important to hold on to that belief of why you've come here, which sometimes involves, I think, talking to family, reconnecting with family and friends, so you feel familiar. MUWCI tends to become, I think, an echo chamber at times. If one person wants, like everyone drives themselves toward academics, there is this feeling of FOMO. And probably you then start rethinking and reassessing what your goals should be. So yeah, for me, one thing is perspective keeping and having the larger picture in mind.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with that. And thinking about what do you want from yourself and what do you want from your experience here and also moving forward in life. Well-being is greatly an individual responsibility, as much as you want people and your environment to support you. It's also a lot to do with how you work through your challenges. So it's important to build into your routine things that would help you, things that would enhance your well-being, and 2 or 3 simple things that we can all really do, irrespective of how busy we are or how caught up we are with everything going on, is finding 10 minutes in a day to just sort of do a mindful meditation, or just be just do some mindfulness based breathing exercises. And you can do that the first thing you wake up in the morning or through the day. Just find 10 minutes for yourself. Just take that for yourself to process some of the emotions or some of the things that have or that do usually come up during the day. So yeah, 10 minutes for yourself for some breathing or mindfulness techniques, and also physical activity, which doesn't have to be rigorous exercise, or doesn't have to be extreme like sports or whatever, but anything that gets you moving. It could be just dancing to a song that you like. It could be stretching. It could be going for a simple walk in the nature. Anything that gets you moving and gets you sort of physically active is good. Yeah.
I think it's important to, along with what Astha has mentioned, is these are good things, and it lies at the heart of knowing that well-being is an individual's responsibility. It's not a systemic responsibility, but you have choices. You can decide when you want to sleep. You can decide how many hours that is. You can decide the quality of food that you're eating. Maggie does not constitute food, or rather doesn't constitute healthy food. So it really is important to know that these decisions are in your hand to take. It's sort of, in psychology we use the word internal locus of control, that these things are in your hands, and the sooner we believe that these things are in our hands, the more likely we are going to make proactive decisions towards our own well-being, like going for a walk, like dancing, like meditating. So these things are there, it's all available, but it's important to know that these things are in your control. And I think another important thing is to, especially in a place like MUWCI, is to practice self-compassion, right? I think it's we're sometimes too hard on ourselves. We set these extremely high expectations. You suddenly come in contact with people who are who are achieving so much already, and then you start comparing yourself, and it's okay at that time to just say it's fine, right? You've set a schedule for yourself and you've not been able to follow it, and it's okay. So I think self-compassion is something that we should engage in a lot more, because if you don't love yourself as much, then no one is going to do that for you. So
Yeah.
Self-love, that's the key. Okay.
Yes. So let's talk about academic pressure. What advice would you give to MUWCI students who feel overwhelmed by the academics on campus?
Okay. I think first and foremost, it's okay to be overwhelmed. I think a lot of us fight the idea of, oh, we just have to have everything figured out, we just have to know how to do it and how to do it right. So just letting yourself be okay with feeling overwhelmed, because that's, again, like I said, well-being is always dynamic, it's up and down. So there are going to be times when you're going to feel not so great, and you're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're going to have a lot on your plate. So know that it's okay for you to feel that way, because you have actual external things making you feel that way. So it's okay to just not be okay at those times. With that, it's also okay to reach out for support. It's also okay to reach out for help when you're feeling overwhelmed. You have all kinds of different support structures for you. You would have your friends, and like we were talking about, it is also an individual responsibility. So doing things that would help you feel less overwhelmed, certain self-care routines that would help you feel or navigate the overwhelm that you're feeling. You will have your advisors, you also have psychologists on campus, you have your teachers, so there are support structures that you can reach out to help you work through certain situations and certain kind of difficult times that you may be facing. With that, absolutely important to take breaks as well, right? Sometimes we're just always doing so much, it's not just MUWCI, but I think at this present time we live in a do culture. We always need to do something to feel like we're achieving something, we're being productive. So it's very important to take breaks, to and there is, again, research in psychology. There's a lot of research done around how to set goals, right? So shorter goals, more achievable goals, smart goals that help you feel, when you achieve them, help you feel more motivated, and you feel less and less overwhelmed as you start following that structure. So I think those are a few things that you can do to work through this. Karl, do you want to add something?
I think Astha, you've covered almost almost all the points. But there's also what we can also look at how we can avoid getting overwhelmed. In the sense, is there anything we can proactively do to prevent the feeling of being overwhelmed? So maybe reaching out well in advance, not just when you're overwhelmed, but also leaning on the support structures available to you, like meeting your advisor regularly, meeting with Ujjwala, a learning support coordinator, regularly, and seeing what strategies can be put in place before doing a little bit every day. I think MUWCI is such that when one activity happens, we tend to forget the other. But I think just trying to weave in maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hour of studies, little bit of academics every day, maybe will make you feel a lot more prepared come exam time. So yeah, and then when the exams come and then you feel overwhelmed, then all what Astha mentioned, those are all the steps that you can take.
Yeah, as you already mentioned about like meeting the psychologist if you are overwhelmed with your academics. So I would have another question, like what well-being resources are available for the students at MUWCI and how can they make most of them?
Okay, before I answer that, you are students here. What are the resources you feel you have on campus for your well-being?
So the first one is our teachers and our psychologist and our WADA RAs and our advisors, and most importantly we also have our friends, those who are from the different countries, and so that because we live most of the time with our friends, so I think they might help more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you answered that question, right? There's so many resources that are, you like you said, you have your friends who know what you're going through, who understand it so much more deeply because they're living almost like the same lives, right? So you have your friends, you have your WADA adults, you have your RAs, you also have your WADA advisors. Karl's pointing to himself, so you have Karl as well, and you have your teachers, you have the psychologists, right? So you have me, we have 3 other psychologists as well, Lydia, Rojo and Aditi. You have all the heads, you have Gaurav, so you have all these different people you can reach out to. I don't think on this campus there's any adult who you reach out to will say, no. Or at least if they don't know what to do in that situation, they will guide you to the right person, right? So I think you can always, if you feel in doubt, if you don't know what to do, you can always reach out to an adult and they will sort of guide you to the right direction. Apart from that, apart from the people themselves, I think we also have sessions that happen in different areas which are more about, again, proactively helping you raise some awareness or equip you with some skills, so there's some sessions that happen in core. We also have some upcoming sessions that are going to be around well-being and mental health, so there are things that are available to you, which if you utilize well, you can keep enhancing and building on your well-being. Karl, do you want to add something?
No, I think you covered it all again, and probably just knowing that you are your biggest support, that ultimately you need to build the skills and you know yourself the best, you know what you like, you don't like, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So I think knowing that that you are your biggest support can also sometimes help along with whatever is available on campus.
Oh, and also to add one more thing, I think our library, right, which is so well kept and well stocked with a lot of great books, and not just physical books. You have some online digital journals as well, and I think if you have something that you feel you want for your own research or your own reading or etc., you can always reach out to Mary Rose, and I'm sure they will try their best to procure it and get it for you. So we have, apart from just all this, you can also do reading. You can also, that really nice podcast that I listen to, which I can share later, and you can just share links. So there are things available that would definitely help you gain more knowledge, gain more understanding, and gain more perspective for your well-being. So yeah.
Okay, so we have our friends, our area, our teacher, and guest speakers here, Karl, who is head of residential life, and Astha, well-being psychologist. Today we learn very much about maintaining our balance of our well-being. And now we come to an end of our podcast. Thank you so much, Karl and Astha, for being here discussing this good topic. So do you have something to tell our audience before it ends?
So actually that's a really good question. I think I would love to hear from students, things that work for them, things that systemically we can change. What is it that I think there is a lot of student agency on campus, and I would like for students to come forward and request certain things or engage in dialogues and say, how can we make this better? Because ultimately I think sense of idealism, right? The UWC value, we're trying to create the best for our students, and I would love for students to be a part of that process. So do come forward, do engage in conversations, and tell us what works for you.
I think that really encapsulates the theme, right? Together we change. So yeah, I think that's very well said. So I completely agree. I think students can always give us feedback. They can always tell us what we can do better. And again, also take the reins in their own hands and think about what they can do better for themselves. So yeah.
Okay, thank you again for Karl and Astha. And our audience, what best fit for you, you can share with us. And see you on the next episode of MUWCI podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.